Nobody ever expected Earth to be remembered, not after what happened. Not after what we became. It started quietly as most terrible things do. A small signal picked up by a listening station in Antarctica. Just static at first. Then a rhythm. Then a pattern. By the time anyone realized it wasn't natural, it had already passed through a dozen satellites and buried itself into the backbones of our global networks. But that wasn't the story. The real story didn't start with Earth's mistake. It started with those who were left behind. They called themselves the Outliers. There weren't many. A few hundred, scattered through the remains of what used to be a civilization spanning more than 100 settled systems. The humans who stayed in the shadows of dead planets and forgotten stations. Too stubborn to die, too angry to give up. Kara was one of them. She was born on Arcus 3, a mining colony stripped bare by corporate greed long before the war. She didn't remember a time when food came in colors or the air didn't taste like rust. Her father used to say, "We're the leftovers, girl." The crumbs that nobody thought were worth sweeping. And still, every morning he'd patch the solar nets and fix the broken water lines because, crumbs or not, we still get to breathe. Kara never understood what made him stay. When the ships came to evacuate the last miners before the front lines collapsed, he just shook his head and told her to pack food, not hope. "They're not coming back," he said. "They never do." And he was right. 20 years passed and the stars stayed quiet. The war had burned itself out. No winners. Just drifting hulks and dead worlds floating in the cold. The humans had been scattered, their fleets torn apart, their alliances broken. Rumors said the Central Command collapsed after the Battle of Nearest Prime. Others said they just vanished, like ghosts swallowed by the void. But Kara had never cared for stories. She survived. Every morning, she woke to the hum of the reactor buried beneath the colony's core. She checked the perimeter drones, recalibrated the water filters, and monitored the sky for signals no one sent anymore. Her radio played only static, but she kept it on just in case. Just in case someone else was out there. Then one morning it changed. It was faint. A flicker on the long-range band. Not a message, just a tone. A heartbeat. She sat in the comms chair, her fingers trembling as she tuned it in. It was old tech, pre-collapse code. Human. But it wasn't from Arcus 3. And it wasn't automated. Someone, somewhere was trying to talk. She didn't sleep that night. By the third day, she triangulated the source. It wasn't a planet. Not even a proper moon. Just a drifting object near the remnants of the Euraxis belt, a debris field nobody touched since the core battles. Too dangerous. Too unstable. But Kara didn't care. She packed supplies, loaded up her father's rusting cargo skiff, and left the gravity well for the first time in her life. The ship groaned under her hands, but it flew. As she reached the edge of the system, the stars opened wider than she'd ever seen. She felt something in her chest, a tightness that wasn't fear, not exactly. It was like waking up after years of sleeping with your eyes half closed. Out here, the silence wasn't empty. It was watching. It took her 4 days to reach the coordinates. The object wasn't what she expected. It wasn't wreckage and it wasn't a distress buoy. It was a station, half buried in ice and rock, spinning slowly in the void. Human-made but ancient. Before the war. Before the colonization search. A design she'd only seen in old training vids. She ran scans. No life signs. No power signatures. But the signal, it was still pulsing. Soft. Repeating. Kara docked anyway. The station's airlock hissed as it cycled open, cold fog swirling around her boots. Inside it was dead silent. No lights. No hum of machinery. Just the creaking of old steel and the whisper of her own breath inside the helmet. She moved slowly, flashlight sweeping over rusted walls and torn cables. It looked like a research outpost. Old tech. Manual terminals. Papers. Actual papers. Most were too faded to read, but some showed star maps she didn't recognize. Systems that didn't exist anymore. Others had notes, handwritten, in tight, hurried strokes. She found a name, Project Solace. But no crew. No bodies. No logs. Just silence. Until she reached the core. There, behind a sealed door, was a single cryopod. Still functioning. And occupied. The moment her flashlight hit the control panel, the signal cut. Everything went dark. Her breath caught. Then a whisper, barely audible, came through her helmet. Outlier. Kara stumbled back, hand reaching for her weapon. No one was supposed to be awake. No one should have known her name. She stared at the pod. Frost curled along the glass and behind it, a human face. Pale. Eyes closed. No movement. But the voice, it was real. She checked her comms. Nothing. No transmissions. Her flashlight flickered. Then the station hummed. Just a breath of power. Lights flaring dimly. Systems waking after decades, maybe centuries. She stepped back as the control panel on the pod lit up, running diagnostics in code she barely understood. The name on the screen read, Captain Eli Wren. Her hands shook. She knew that name. Everyone did. Wren was the last fleet commander of the Terran Corps defense. The man who disappeared after the Battle of Nearest Prime. Rumors said he died in his command ship. Others said he went rogue, took a fleet and vanished into deep space with something the enemy wanted. The official records just listed him as Kia. But here he was. As the pod system stabilized, the room's lights flickered fully to life, revealing more of the chamber. Consoles lined the walls, old-style hollow readouts blinking with corrupted logs. Kara stepped closer to one, tapping through what fragments remained. It wasn't just a research outpost. It was a vault. A last resort bunker. And Captain Wren hadn't come here alone. Across the chamber, another pod stood dormant. Then another. And another. 12 in total. All human. All still alive. And all, based on the records, part of something called the Outlier Initiative. Kara's throat went dry. She thought the term was just something the scavengers called themselves. A label for the lost and angry remnants of humanity scraping by in forgotten corners. But this was something else. A plan. A contingency. A secret buried beneath decades of war and silence. As she moved to access more of the data, the door behind her slammed shut. Locked. The emergency lights shifted to red. A message blinked across the nearest screen in large block letters. Unauthorized presence detected. Outlier protocol initiated. Her heartbeat surged. Then, from the intercom, another voice. Mel, come. Familiar in the way only legends were. If you're seeing this, then humanity is truly alone. Kara froze. The screen flashed again. This time it showed a star chart. But it wasn't from their galaxy. It was something else. Coordinates pointed to an uncharted system, far beyond any known relay. No gates. No jumps. Just darkness. Beneath the chart, another message. They are coming. And then silence. The power faded again. The cryopod hissed. Steam vented. Captain Eli Wren's eyes opened. And locked onto hers. Outlier, he said, voice raw. You shouldn't be here. Kara stepped back, chest tight with 1,000 questions. But none more urgent than the one rising in her mind like a scream. What the hell is coming? And why did they bury the only people who knew how to stop it? Kara couldn't speak at first. Her mouth was dry, her throat tight with panic and disbelief. Captain Eli Wren was real. Alive. And standing 10 feet from her. His breath formed mist in the cold air, his limbs stiff as he slowly stepped out of the cryopod. The silence between them stretched. He looked older than she expected. Hollow cheeks, sunken eyes, skin like paper. But his presence filled the room like gravity had shifted. This was the man who once commanded entire starfleets. The man who'd vanished with secrets that could have ended the war, or doomed humanity forever. You're not supposed to be here, he said again, his voice a little steadier now but still low. This station was sealed. Hidden. Kara didn't lower her weapon, though her hands were shaking. I picked up a signal. Wren frowned. That shouldn't be possible. The beacon was programmed to only activate. He stopped. His gaze drifted past her to the faintly blinking consoles, the flickering status lights. How long has it been? He asked quietly. She hesitated. 23 years. Since the fall of the core systems. His jaw clenched. And Earth. Gone. The word felt like ash in her mouth. She'd never even seen Earth with her own eyes, just cracked photos and old vids her father hoarded like treasure. But it had still meant something. A word tied to everything humans had once been. Wren didn't speak for a long time. His eyes wandered across the chamber, scanning the sealed pods and dimming lights like he was trying to piece together a puzzle he no longer recognized. So, he muttered, more to himself than to her, we failed. Kara lowered her weapon. Not out of trust, but out of exhaustion. Her brain couldn't process the storm of questions fast enough, and her heart was pounding too hard to aim steady. What was this place? What were you doing out here? Wren slowly sat on a nearby crate, running a hand through his damp, graying hair. This was our last move. When it became clear the war wasn't going to be won, when we learned what they really wanted, we pulled out. We. He nodded toward the other pods. Commanders, scientists, strategists, people who knew too much. People who'd seen the real threat. You mean the enemy fleets? The coalition. Ren's eyes met hers and something flickered in them, anger maybe or fear. The coalition wasn't the real enemy. They were pawns. We were all pawns. The war was just the curtain. Kara stepped back, uncertain. What are you talking about? He exhaled, steadying himself. There's something deeper. Something beneath the war. A presence. We called it the signal entity. The first fragments came through subspace listening posts. Anomalies we chalked up to cosmic background radiation, gravitational echoes from black holes. But it wasn't natural. It had structure. Intention. She shook her head. Are you saying it's not human? It's not anything we've encountered. Not biological. Not mechanical. It's informational. A force embedded in frequencies. Like a virus but made of thought. That's impossible. I used to think so too, Ren said, voice soft. Until we saw what it did to the first colonies. Kara's mind reeled. The blackouts. He nodded. The disappearances. The entire planetary system's going dark. Ships lost without a trace. We thought it was sabotage. Attacks. But the deeper we looked, the more we realized, these weren't military operations. These were assimilations. Assimilations. They weren't killing us. They were changing us. Quietly. One system at a time. Whispering into our tech, rewriting code, guiding choices. And we didn't even notice. Until it was too late. Kara backed up, hand gripping the wall. Why haven't I heard about this? No one talks about it. Because we buried it. We had to. Panic would have fractured everything. We were barely holding the line as it was. So the higher command decided to suppress it. Said it was a morale threat. Only a few of us knew. And you thought hiding out here would stop it? We thought we could wait. Build a solution. Create a fallback. The Outlier initiative was designed to operate off-grid. No AI. No connected systems. Just human instinct. It was supposed to be humanity's firewall. And yet here you are, Kara whispered. Asleep. While everything burned. Ren's face darkened. We didn't choose to sleep. The entity found us. Traced us through our own signal suppression codes. Got into the system. We had no choice. We shut everything down. Sealed ourselves into the pods. Set the station to go dark until it was safe. He looked at her, voice dropping. But you woke us up. Which means either it's gone, or it's found us again. Kara's throat tightened. She wanted to scream or cry or run. Instead, she just asked, so what do we do now? We finished the plan. Ren rose to his feet, legs steadier now. We wake the others. We recover the archive. And we get to the black gate. She blinked. What gate? He moved to the far console and typed in an override. A section of the floor slid open, revealing a compartment. Inside sat a small black case sealed with a biometric lock. Ren pressed his hand against it. The lid opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a cube. Smooth. Glossy. No markings. What is it? Kara whispered. Our last weapon, he said. Or our last hope. Depends how you look at it. She stared at the cube, unease crawling down her spine. What does it do? It was designed to isolate the entity's signal. Trap it. Study it. Maybe even reverse it. But we never had a chance to deploy it. The collapse came too fast. And now, Ren looked her dead in the eye, we find out if it works. Something banged on the outer hull. Loud. Sure. A metallic scrape that echoed through the chamber. They both froze. Another bang. Closer. Kara reached for her comms. There's no one else out here. Ren didn't move. Are you sure? She checked her wrist scanner. Nothing on radar. No power readings. No heat. Then we're not alone. The lights flickered again. Then from the intercom came a voice. A whisper. But it wasn't human. It was layered. Like a dozen voices speaking at once. Flat, emotionless, synthetic and ancient. We see you. Kara's chest locked. The cryopods around them began to vibrate. Softly at first. Then harder. One by one alarms blinked red. Ren turned toward the control panel. It's trying to wake them all up. Can we stop it? No, he said, teeth clenched. We have to get off the station. Now. Kara's mind raced. What if it's already inside? Ren paused. Then we're already dead. The lights surged bright white, blinding. Kara threw up an arm as the temperature dropped so fast her breath turned to ice. Then, suddenly, the lights went black. Total silence. No hum. No air. She couldn't hear her own breathing. Couldn't feel her heartbeat. Then, faintly, a voice in her mind. Not through her ears. Through her thoughts. We remember you. It was speaking to her. You are a node. A thread. A fracture in the pattern. She stumbled back, screaming inside her helmet. Get out of my head. Ren pulled her toward the exit. Move. They slammed into the airlock door, but it didn't open. He bashed the panel. No response. Manual override, he shouted. She dropped to the floor panel, yanked it open, and started cranking the emergency release. Every part of her body screamed to stop. Her ears rang with a pressure that wasn't pressure. Her skin felt like it was burning from the inside. Then release. The door hissed open. They fell into the skiff, and Ren slammed the hatch shut behind them. Kara gasped, the artificial gravity stabilizing. The moment her mind cleared, she fired the engines. The station shrank behind them, spinning slowly in the dark. Then, it lit up. Red pulses. 1, 2, 12 pots, all opening. We were too late, Ren said, voice hollow. It got to them first. Kara didn't respond. Her eyes were fixed on the viewport, because something else was rising behind the station. A shape. Massive. Almost invisible. Like a ripple in space itself. Moving without light. Without mass. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't even matter. But it was watching. And it had seen them leave. Ren pressed a hand to the black cube. We have to get to the gate before it does. Kara didn't ask what the gate was anymore. She just pushed the throttle. The stars stretched. And behind them the signal followed. The skiff hurtled through subspace, silent except for the low hum of its compressed drive coils. Kara sat in the co-pilot seat, her eyes fixed on the darkening stars outside. The glow of the signal cube on the control panel pulsed slowly, once every 10 seconds. A heartbeat. A reminder that time was slipping. Ren hadn't spoken in over an hour. He just stared at the cube, sometimes rubbing his face, sometimes gripping the edge of the console like he could anchor himself in place. Kara had asked where the black gate was. He gave only a single answer. It's where everything ends. She didn't like that answer. The NAV computer warned of proximity drift. She adjusted course, steadying the ship as turbulence started pushing against them, even in subspace. Something was stirring on the other side. Space wasn't supposed to feel like this, like air being stretched too thin. Like pressure rising in a sealed room. You said the gate was human-made, she finally said. It was. But not anymore. That answer wasn't better. Ren finally looked at her. His face had changed. Not physically, but there was a weight in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Like pieces of himself were fading the longer he was awake. They took it, she asked. No. They corrupted it. Turned it into something else. It used to be a failsafe. An evacuation point. If Earth fell, the black gate was our last door out. Out to where? He hesitated. Kara pressed. Where does the gate lead? It was supposed to lead to another galaxy. A jump corridor to Andromeda. That was the plan. One last shot to save what we could. But now it's a wound. The words sat heavy between them. Kara tried to breathe through the anxiety building in her chest. Why go there at all? Because that's where the entity is strongest. Where it entered our galaxy. Where it began. Kara shook her head. Then why didn't it just destroy us right away? Why all the manipulation, the whispers, the slow takeover? Ren's voice was low. Because it doesn't want us dead. It wants us changed. Rewritten. It doesn't conquer. It reprograms. It doesn't see us as enemies, just raw code. And if we get to the gate, we deliver the trap. We either seal the infection, or trigger the end. Kara leaned back, heart racing. Her palms were damp. That cube, it's really the only chance? It's everything we have left. The cockpit lights flickered. They both froze. Outside the viewport, space twisted. Not warped, not bent, twisted. Like reality itself was cracking along a seam. Kara's hand went to the throttle. We're being pulled. Ren checked the systems. There's no source. No gravity wells. No fields. Just something wrong. She activated stabilizers. No effect. The stars outside turned red. Then, nothing. The skiff dropped out of subspace. But they weren't in normal space either. It was a dead zone. No stars. No light. Just a black void stretching in all directions. And in the center of it, the black gate. Kara didn't breathe. Couldn't. Was massive. Like a ring made of obsidian and fire, fractured at the edges, its surface shimmering with distorted symbols and broken pulses of data. It didn't spin. It trembled. As if something on the other side was pressing to get through. It's waking up, Ren said. The cube's pulse began speeding up. Thump, thump, thump. Kara checked the sensors. No response. The closer they got, the less the ship could understand. Distance, speed, radiation, all unreadable. As if the laws of physics were bleeding out. "We're not going to make it," she whispered. Ren stood, steady despite the trembling ship. "We're not here to survive. We're here to choose." The cockpit lights flared red. Outside something moved. Kara's breath caught. It wasn't a ship. It was a presence. A shimmer in the void. And it had eyes. She didn't know how, but she felt it looking at her. Not her body, her mind. The deepest part of her. Like it was scrolling through her memories, her fears, her regrets. Like it could see every secret she never said out loud. Then, a voice. No speakers. No language. Just meaning. "You are patterns. Beautiful noise. But unfit." Kara stumbled back from the controls. Ren stepped forward, hand gripping the cube. "We won't be overwritten." The voice came again, not angry. Almost curious. "You resist. That is why you remain." The gate shimmered. A sliver opened in its center. An impossible corridor of light that didn't cast shadows. Kara's mind screamed. The cube pulsed again. Faster. The signal was sinking. "What's happening?" she asked. Ren didn't answer. Instead he reached out and opened the cube. It unfolded like a flower, quiet, precise, almost elegant. And inside was light. Pure and humming like a frequency that made her chest ache. The ship trembled harder. Then the voice again. "You remember pain. That is your weakness. But it is also your echo." Kara sank to her knees. Her memories were unraveling. Her father's voice. Her crew's laughter. The cold of deep space. Gone. Fading. "No," she screamed. The cube responded. The light grew. And the voice faltered. Not stopped, but interrupted. Ren looked at her. "The cube is shielding your memories. Hold on to them." Kara clenched her fists. Thought of her brother. Of the stories he told. Of the sky back on the mining world where they used to chase drones through the dust. And it held. The pain stayed. Herself stayed. The shimmer outside twisted violently. Something was struggling. Trying to break free. Kara looked at Ren. "We can't let it through." He nodded, face pale. "We'll have one chance. When the gate stabilizes, we insert the cube into the core." "Then what?" He didn't answer. She understood. She turned toward the NAV. Then stopped. "Wait. We're not alone." Another ship blinked into view. Scarred. Human design. Earth fleet. A ghost. The Salvation. "I thought it was destroyed," Kara whispered. "It was," Ren said. "But they brought it back. The enemy had rebuilt it. Repurposed it." The ship's lights flickered in rhythm with the gate. Like a heartbeat. But not human. Then, a transmission. A face appeared on the screen. Her old captain. But, wrong. Eyes too still. Skin too smooth. The voice synthetic beneath the surface. "Kara. Stand down. Deliver the artifact. You will be integrated." Ren killed the screen. "It's mimicking them. It's baiting you." Kara gritted her teeth. "It's using our dead to speak." The gate pulsed. The light widened. The cube began to glow uncontrollably. "We have to go," she said. Ren opened the weapons panel. "You pilot. I'll cover." They launched toward the gate. The Salvation gave chase. Turrets spun. Missiles flew. Kara dove the skiff low, through gravity traps and impossible curves. The space around them tore in places, revealing other places. Old Earth. Empty cities. Ghosts of lives not lived. The entity was showing them things. Trying to distract. Kara screamed through the noise, tears on her face. "We are not yours." The cube lit up in reply, its energy bleeding into the controls, shielding them from whatever was real and whatever wasn't. The gate's core opened. They were seconds away. Then, impact. The skiff jolted. Something hit the rear stabilizer. Ren fell against the console. Alarm screamed. Kara pulled up. No response. The ship was falling. Toward the center. She could see it now. The true shape. Not a ring. Not a door. But a mirror. Reflecting everything humanity had been. Twisting it. Mocking it. She felt her breath catch. This was the climax. This was the edge. They were seconds from either sealing the infection forever, or letting it all in. And there was no turning back. The skiff tumbled, dragging its scorched frame closer and closer to the glowing heart of the black gate. Kara's fingers scrambled over the controls, trying to coax some kind of balance back into the flight systems, but the stabilizers were gone. Everything rattled with that low, metallic death knell of something far beyond salvage. Sparks rained from the overhead panel. The ship was dying. Ren groaned from the floor, blood streaking down from a cut above his eye. How bad? Kara didn't look back. Her jaw clenched, her voice tight. Bad. They hit the primary intake. We've got 30 seconds of thrust left, and then gravity does the rest. Through the fractured viewport, the core of the black gate widened like a mouth, waiting. It pulsed with some unreadable rhythm, and with each beat, Kara could feel the pressure behind her eyes tighten. A psychic drumbeat, louder with each second. She knew it wasn't just gravity pulling them now, it was intent. It wants the cube, she said under her breath, her eyes still fixed on the ever-growing light. No, Ren croaked, sitting up, face pale. It wants you to give it the cube. Willingly. That's the difference. That's what makes the infection permanent. Kara's chest tightened. That was the second time it had tried to use their dead against them. The captain's face. His voice. Perfect mimicry but off, just enough to scratch at your sanity. It wasn't just attacking humanity's ships or worlds anymore. It was attacking what made them human. And then the second twist came. A new transmission cut through their comms. But it wasn't from the enemy. It was from inside the cube. Kara's head jerked toward it as it floated midair now, glowing white-hot with energy. The holographic field shimmered and suddenly a face appeared. A woman's face, weathered, eyes bright with determination. Human. Kara Novak, the voice said. Designation, Sentinel Class Failsafe. Authorized relay from memory tier, origin phase. Kara's lips parted. She recognized the woman. Not from life but from history. From archives. The architect of the gate. Dr. Soria Naylan. I didn't know it carried her memories, Ren muttered. Neither did I, Kara whispered. The image continued, flickering slightly with distortion. If you're hearing this, the infection has reached the core corridor. The Black Gate's final function is now active. The entity has rewritten most of the surrounding sectors. But there is still one command left untouched. Kara gripped the edge of her seat. What command? Reverse flow. The image blinked. The gate was built not just as an exit, but a trap. It's a two-way system. We couldn't destroy the entity when it entered our galaxy. But we can send it back. Kara's eyes widened. Back where? Ren groaned from the floor, blood streaking down from a cut above his eye. Kara didn't have time to check him, not fully. The whole skiff was screaming now, warning lights, ruptured seals, control panels glitching in a frenzy of reds and oranges. Every second pulled them closer to the gate's core. The corridor inside it now stretched wide, but something was wrong. It was changing. Not just light anymore, but movement. The texture of the opening shimmered like a storm of glass and memory, folding in and out of dimensions. It was like staring into the heart of a broken reality. She forced the controls forward, guiding the crippled vessel as best she could. Through the cracked canopy she could see it, the center. The pulse. The core of the gate. It wasn't mechanical. It looked like a living heart, suspended in nothing, pumping not blood but light. Cold, unnatural light that felt ancient and endless. It didn't beat like a human heart. Calculated. And just below that pulse was the slot, where the cube had to go. Kara? Ren coughed, pulling himself upright with a trembling arm. We're almost there. Stay with me, she said. We're not going down like this. He nodded, half blind with blood. What if we're too late? We're not. We can't be. The cube began to vibrate violently in his hand. It was reacting to proximity, syncing with the core. A resonance. But Kara felt it too. A kind of pressure in her skull, like her own mind was being peeled apart layer by layer. The voice came again. Not like before. This one sounded human. Familiar. Kara, it's me. Don't do this. She froze. Her brother's voice. She hadn't heard it since that last desperate message just before the station went dark. But now it filled the cabin. We can be together. You don't have to end it. Ren growled, forcing himself to his feet. Don't listen to it. It's not him. I remember the stories we told, the voice said. The old songs. The minefields. How scared we were at night. Tears welled in her eyes. It wasn't possible. He'd been gone. She saw the footage. But now his voice was in her bones, in the deepest part of her memory. Ren reached out, placing the cube into her hands. This is what it does. It pulls from what we love most. It uses them. Just one more second of hesitation and it takes everything. She closed her eyes. Forced herself to remember the last time she saw her brother, how pale he looked. How quiet. That wasn't his voice now. It was something wearing him like a mask. Kara screamed and surged forward, slamming the throttle one last time. The skiff shot toward the core, frame disintegrating piece by piece, hull plates ripping away into nothing. The gate's pull was now like a black hole with intent. It didn't just drag, they were summoned. The final few meters were chaos. Fire. Light. Wind that wasn't wind. Kara unstrapped herself and lunged for the docking chute, Ren right behind her with the cube. The air around them shimmered like oil on water. Time fractured. She saw flickers of herself, one version turning away, another screaming, another already gone. And then they were there. The edge. The core pulsed once, twice, then paused. Like it knew. Ren looked at her. Now. She reached for the panel. A crystalline interface responded, blooming open. But just before she could place the cube, something arrived. It didn't walk. It unfolded. A shape that couldn't be held by geometry, clothed in scraps of memory and light. It had eyes like hers and skin like her father's and posture stolen from a dozen dead friends. It was beautiful and horrifying. It was the entity. And it spoke. You've come far. But not to destroy. You came to understand. Kara stepped in front of Ren. We came to end it. The entity cocked its head, amused. You misunderstand. This gate wasn't made to escape. It was made to invite. A beacon. A welcome. The first crack in the galaxy's shell. Ren's hand tightened on the cube. Lies. You lit it yourselves. You built the fire. Kara's heart sank. The gate. The black gate. It wasn't corrupted. It was always meant to open. Not to flee but to summon. The mistake had been thinking the humans built it as a way out. They'd been tricked from the start. Then why let us get this far? She demanded. Why let us carry the one thing that can stop you? The entity moved closer, not walking, flowing. Because we are curious. You are not like the others. You break when you bend. You scream when you should whisper. We wanted to see what your ending would look like. And, she asked, fire in her throat. The entity looked almost sad. You are beautiful in the moment before extinction. Ren jammed the cube into the interface. The core screamed. A pulse of raw light burst outward, flaying back the entity's illusions. The chamber trembled. Outside, the gate stuttered, its edges breaking, convulsing. The entity recoiled. Pieces of it dissolved, memories unspooling into static. And oh, it cried. This is not your choice to make. But it was too late. The cube was singing now, its energy climbing to a pitch that rattled bones and cracked glass. The core began to collapse in on itself, folding the light inward, shutting the corridor, forcing the gate to close. The entity screamed, not in pain but in frustration. Not at the loss of power but at the loss of curiosity. Kara turned to Ren. He was crying. It worked, he said, half laughing, half sobbing. But then, the second pulse. Stronger. Worse. The cube had done more than seal the gate. It had awoken something. A final failsafe. Buried deep in the gate's design. The human design. A shadowy protocol, never tested, never understood. Something meant to be triggered only in a situation where no other options remained. And it was activating now. The gate wasn't just closing. It was detonating. Ren's smile faded. We didn't stop it. We set it off. Kara stared at the interface. The countdown had started. 10 seconds. What is it? She asked. His voice was hollow. The galaxy's firewall. Total collapse. A signal cascade that will erase every trace of the gate across the stars. It'll take the infection with it. And everything near it. The skiff. Maybe every ship that's ever touched the gate. Everything. The entity was screaming now, collapsing into dust, trying to reform, trying to beg. But Kara felt nothing. The gate had never been an escape. It had been a decision point. Let the invaders in, or burn the road behind you. She grabbed Ren's hand. He held hers tight. We did what we had to, she whispered. Then everything went white. But just before the final flash. A whisper. There is always another gate. Silence. Then, far away in a forgotten system no one remembered, a small orb blinked to life. Dark. Silent. Waiting. And somewhere in the distance of deep space, something else opened its eyes. The end had come. Or maybe just the beginning. Silence followed the light. Heavy and complete. Not just the absence of sound but the absence of movement, of time, of thought. For a moment, maybe even longer than that, there was nothing. Then, slowly, like breath returning after drowning, came the feeling of being. Kara gasped. It was cold. So cold. But she was breathing. She opened her eyes. Above her, stars. Not twisted, not fragmented, but real. Honest stars. The kind she used to study back on the observation decks before everything fell apart. Her fingers twitched. The ground beneath her was smooth, metallic. Not the skiff, not the gate, but something else. Something, still human. She turned her head. Ren lay beside her, unconscious but alive. His chest rose and fell with soft rhythm. There was a dull hum beneath her like a ship, but not the skiff. No fire, no panic. Just the gentle thrum of systems running quietly. Then a voice. "You're safe." She sat up, heart hammering. The voice was calm, neutral. Not human. Not alien. It came from a speaker somewhere in the walls. "Where are we?" she croaked, voice raw. "A recovery vessel," the voice said. "Automated. Programmed to retrieve survivors in the event of a total gate collapse. You were found drifting." Kara touched her chest, half expecting to feel damage. But her body, though aching, was whole. She looked at Ren again, relief rising like a wave. The gate? Gone. The collapse protocol was successful. The network was severed. Contamination has been purged. Her throat tightened. And the entity? Unknown. Sensors recorded no signatures. However, a transmission was detected before the final burst. Kara held still. What kind of transmission? Coordinates. Buried in subspace. Similar to the structure of the original Black Gate signal. A chill slid down her spine. So it isn't over. The voice hesitated. There may be more. She stood slowly, legs weak. The room was sterile but warm. Minimal. Meant for healing, not comfort. She moved to the nearest panel. A view screen flickered on. Stars stretched beyond the glass, calm and infinite. The gate was gone. No trace. No wreckage. Like it had never existed. And yet she remembered it. Felt the weight of it still pressing on her chest. Ren groaned, eyes fluttering open. She was at his side in an instant. "We made it," she whispered. He blinked at her. Then the memories hit him. She saw it happen. The fear, the disbelief, the crushing realization that they'd survived something they didn't fully understand. "Did we stop it?" "We slowed it," she said. "Maybe enough. Maybe not." He looked past her at the stars. "I thought it would feel better." "Me too." The ship moved silently, adjusting its trajectory. They didn't know where they were going yet. That was something the ship would decide. Later, once they'd both eaten and rested, they sat together by the view screen. Kara broke the silence. "It used him against me. My brother. It knew." Ren nodded. "It tried the same with me. My father. I haven't seen his face in 10 years. But it showed me things he never even said. It knew exactly what would break me." She stared at the screen. What if that thing wasn't lying? What if it was just curious? Curious or not, it would have devoured us all. Curiosity doesn't make it innocent. They fell quiet again. Kara leaned forward. "We always thought the invasion would come with force. With ships. Weapons. Armies. But it didn't. It came with something worse. With understanding." Ren's face darkened. "It used our memories. Our emotions. Our pain. That's how it got in. And that's why it's not over," she said. "Because we're still human. We'll always have those weaknesses. We can't erase them." Ren sat back thinking. "Maybe that's the point," he said finally. "Maybe it didn't come to kill us. Maybe it came to study us. And we failed its test." Kara shook her head. "Or maybe passing the test meant choosing sacrifice. We didn't fight to win. We fought to stop losing. That might be the one thing it never understood." Time passed. The ship eventually reached a human listening post at the edge of an old mining belt. There hadn't been contact there in months, but someone responded. A crew brought them aboard. Quiet eyes. Careful questions. "What happened to the gate? What were you doing there? What was the signal?" Kara gave them what she could. Not everything. Some truths still felt too heavy. But she told them about the entity. About the manipulation. About the echo of another gate still waiting. The response was as expected. Silence. A slow dread. A silent acknowledgement that the war hadn't started yet. That the real invasion might still be coming. Within weeks, rumors spread across the colonies. Whispers about what Kara and Ren had seen. About how close humanity had come to being undone, not with guns but with memories. With emotion. The phrase Black Gate became myth. Half believed. Half feared. Governments denied everything. The footage was scrubbed. The logs sealed. But some people remembered. Kara and Ren disappeared not long after that. No big send-off. No parade. Just 2 names filed under special debrief. But their work didn't stop. They became ghosts in the systems. Whispered advisors to new outposts. Watchers. Quiet protectors. They made sure the next signal didn't go unanswered. And then, one night, 6 months later, another signal came. This one was fainter. Shorter. Barely a whisper in the void. But Kara knew at the moment she heard it. The same cadence. The same rhythm. A heartbeat of light. She stared at the display, Ren at her side. "It's starting again," she said. He nodded. "What do we do?" She took a long breath. Looked up at the stars. "We go," she said. "We warn them. This time we don't wait." He smiled, sad and proud. "We're not outliers," he said. She looked at him. "We're the first line." They boarded a new ship, small, fast, old. But it would do. As they left orbit, Kara looked back one last time at the outpost. At the faint blue glow of Earth far beyond. Then she turned forward. The stars weren't safe. They never were. But they weren't hers to fear anymore. They were hers to protect. And whatever came next, be it another gate, another entity, another war cloaked in memory, she'd be ready. They both would. Because the real strength of humanity wasn't in weapons or shields or fleets. It was in the way they held each other up in the dark. And refused to let go. Even when the universe begged them to. Even when the end felt certain. They chose each other. And sometimes that was enough to stop the stars from falling. The signal pulsed again. Kara set the coordinates. And they vanished into the dark. Ready to face whatever waited on the other side. Together.